and he identified the two that got robbed and the one that got unalive.
You niggas better watch y'all mouth when y'all say your name, cuz I was facing 20 plus or 20 plus another 20 plus life.
Pooh Shiesty pulled up on Wack100 and pressed him after Wack called him a snitch. This whole thing is wild, but it runs way deeper than most people realize. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that's about to shock you. So here's what really went down. Wack100's been talking heavy about Pooh Shiesty, claiming he cooperated in his case, and the internet's been going crazy ever since. The street's been buzzing non-stop about this, but here's where things take a twist. Wack isn't just accusing him of a normal telling situation. Nah, he's talking about some behind-the-scenes legal stuff that barely anyone even understands. Let me break it down. Wack's talking about that Miami case where Pooh Shiesty and his people allegedly went to meet some guys for a deal involving sneakers and other items. Yeah, sounds simple, right? But apparently, everything went left fast. Now, according to what Wack's been saying, Pooh didn't actually point fingers at anyone himself. It's what his lawyer supposedly said that started all the drama. That's where it gets wild. So check this. The people involved in the case originally told the police they didn't have any weapons.
He's identifying the girl, and he's identifying that they're going to rob some niggas, and he identified the two that got robbed and the one that got unalive. He's collaborating the police story. Press play. Argue with yourself.
But then Pooh's defense lawyer, Bradford Cohen, came through in court and said, nah, they did have weapons, and we can prove it. You see where this is going. The lawyer brought up evidence that showed those guys not only had weapons, but even had a firearm case with ammo in the trunk. And because of that, it made the victims look like they weren't telling the truth from the start. That single move in court flipped the whole story upside down. That move in court is what ended up getting Pooh Shiesty's sentence dropped from 10 years to less than 5. But this is exactly where Wack100 starts getting fired up, and I mean really fired up. He said, and I quote, "The street code says I can't tell the police or the DA that he pulled a gun on me first, even if he did. These are the rules of the streets. I didn't make this up. This was here before me, bro." When Wack starts talking about street rules, he goes all in. He explained that even if someone threatens you first and you defend yourself, you're still not supposed to go to law enforcement and say what happened. You're supposed to deal with the case in silence and let the courts figure it out without you giving up any info to officials. He even said that means nobody, not the police, not the DA, not the judge, and not any federal agents. That's just how it's viewed in that world.
Silent, you silent. We kept it G. We traumatized about this shit, man. For real, I really went through it. You niggas better watch y'all mouth when y'all say your name, cuz I was facing 20 plus or 20 plus another 20 plus life. Never told it, never folded. All my shit add up.
But here's where things get even more intense. Wack claimed that by Pooh Shiesty's lawyer telling the court that the victims had weapons when they denied it, that was considered a form of cooperation in the eyes of the streets. In other words, he saw that as giving information to authorities about a crime, even if it was just to defend Pooh. Wack broke it down with an example, saying, if I go somewhere and get into it with somebody and that person pulls a gun on me first and I manage to defend myself and get away, even then, the street code says I can't go to the police or the DA and say he pulled a gun on me first. That's how deep this code runs in that culture. I can't do that. Those are the rules of the streets. That's what Wack100 kept saying. But then, things took an unexpected turn. Pooh Shiesty's lawyer, Bradford Cohen, caught wind of all this talk and decided to jump on DJ Academic's live stream to defend his client. And man, this is where it got wild. Because instead of shutting Wack down, the lawyer ended up proving most of what Wack said was true. Cohen literally said on stream, the paperwork he's reading shows our defense was that we blamed the alleged victims, that they were trying to rob Pooh and his people, and that's why weapons came out. Then he added, the victim said, I don't have a gun, I never owned a gun. But through our investigation, we found not only did he have a gun, but he even had a firearm box in the trunk with ammo. That right there confirmed everything. The lawyer basically admitted they told the court the victims weren't telling the truth about not having weapons. And then Cohen explained that's why the judge dropped Pooh's sentence from 10 years down to less than 5 for that shooting case. When Wack100 saw this, he lost it. He said, "So you're admitting the victims told the police they didn't have anything, but your defense was to tell the court they actually had weapons." Wack went off saying, "That's something you can't do. The streets don't talk like that." And then came the part that had everybody talking. Bradford Cohen fired back and called Wack100 whack, saying he was very stupid and just chasing attention online. He really thought he was about to make Wack look bad in front of the internet, but instead, he ended up giving Wack all the proof he needed to keep the conversation going even louder. Wack100 fired back saying, "You're calling me a snitch and stupid, but you just proved my whole point." He said Bradford Cohen gave everyone exactly what they needed to keep this story alive. And when Wack feels disrespected like that, he never lets it slide. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Wack mentioned that his crew, especially one guy named Ghost, has been the main one digging into Pooh Shiesty's case. Wack said Ghost and his people were the ones uncovering all the paperwork and sending him evidence tied to the situation. According to Wack, Ghost is the one who's been leading the whole exposure effort on Pooh Shiesty. But things got shady when Ghost reportedly found documents that the lawyer was supposed to send to Wack months ago, but never did. That's when Wack started questioning everything. He said, "Now I see why he didn't send those papers after what Ghost found." That raised eyebrows all over the internet. Why didn't the lawyer send those documents when he said he would? Was something being hidden? Then about a month later, Pooh Shiesty decided to step in and speak for himself. He jumped on Instagram and posted what he claimed was his own court paperwork, showing he was facing 60 to life in federal court. He made it clear he beat that case right alongside his two co-defendants and didn't cooperate on anybody. The paperwork he showed was part of a massive court file, reportedly around 4,000 pages. Pooh said it himself, that he faced some serious time and handled his situation without telling on anyone.
After Pooh Shiesty dropped that post, the internet went into a frenzy. Fans, blogs, and even other rappers started picking sides instantly. Some people were saying his paperwork proved he stayed solid, while others were claiming it didn't clear everything up. It turned into a full-blown debate overnight. Wack100, of course, wasn't about to stay quiet. He jumped right back online and started breaking down Pooh's post line by line. He said, "That paperwork don't mean what y'all think it means. Just because you posted something don't mean it clears you." Wack stood firm on his stance, saying there were still unanswered questions about the case. But Pooh's supporters weren't having it. They flooded Wack's comments, calling him out, saying he was reaching and just trying to stir things up for attention. Some even said he was mad because Pooh didn't respond to him directly. And you know Wack, once people start coming at him online, he goes 10 times harder. Then, out of nowhere, Ghost, the same guy who had been helping Wack with the paperwork, went live to show what he claimed was real proof of what happened behind the scenes. He started flashing documents, talking about how some details were being left out from the version Pooh posted. That only made things more confusing, because now there were 2 different sets of receipts floating around the internet. Every blog page picked it up, from Instagram to YouTube to TikTok. Everyone had an opinion. Some people said Wack was just trying to stay relevant, while others said Pooh's lawyer messed up by even going live in the first place. At this point, the situation stopped being about the case and turned into a straight-up social media showdown. People weren't just arguing about who was right or wrong, they were watching 2 major names in hip-hop go head-to-head, and it didn't look like either side was backing down anytime soon. "How can y'all say I'm a snitch?" That's what Pooh Shiesty fired back with online after all the noise started spreading. But here's where things really started confusing people. Wack100 claimed that the case Pooh posted about wasn't even the same one he'd been talking about the whole time. He said the situation where Pooh supposedly gave information through his lawyer was a different case altogether. And if that's true, then Pooh might be playing some serious strategy moves to protect his image. Wack100 said, "I guarantee you he didn't show the full paperwork. Forget those 100 pages. What matters is the part that says he cooperated with law enforcement. That's what I'm talking about." Wack made it clear he wasn't backing down on his claims. But what made this hit even harder is Pooh's background. His father has a strong reputation and deep ties to that lifestyle, a man known for standing on his word and sticking to certain principles.
He raised Pooh with those same values, so if there were even rumors of cooperation, direct or indirect, that would be seen as a serious break from everything his father stood for. In those circles, loyalty and silence are everything. People have even walked away from family members for breaking that code. So the idea of Pooh being tied to something like that hit way deeper than just internet gossip. It struck right at his family's reputation. Wack even mentioned that he personally knows Pooh's dad and respects him. He said, "I know his father. I've always respected that man," which made the situation even more personal, because Wack wasn't just talking about some random rapper. He was talking about someone whose family he actually knew and respected. "I know people close to him." That's what Wack100 said, making this whole situation even more personal. This isn't some random online beef. Wack's calling out the son of a man he actually knows and respects. And that's what makes this whole thing even crazier. If what Wack is saying turns out to be true, then Pooh Shiesty's been keeping things real quiet behind the scenes. Think about it. He's been holding up his image as one of the toughest rappers out, talking about loyalty, street credibility, and staying solid no matter what. His music and persona are all built around being authentic to the life he came from. But if there's even a little truth to the claims that his lawyer shared information in court, that would mean he's been presenting one image while something totally different was happening behind closed doors. Wack100 used that as a major point to show how serious the code is to him. He even told a story about when he was just 13 or 14 years old fighting a serious case. He said while he was already going through that situation, police came to him claiming they had 3 adults who told him he was involved in something he didn't even do. Wack said, "You know what I told them? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Charge me, book me, send me back to my cell." He explained how he was willing to fight a whole case as a teenager rather than give up any names or information, even though he was innocent. That's how deep the loyalty runs in that culture. He said, "Could I have pointed them out? Of course, but when you step into this life, you know what comes with it and you accept it." Now, if these rumors about Pooh Shiesty are even halfway true, this could seriously shake his entire career. His whole image is built around being a real one. His songs talk about surviving shootouts, hustling, and standing on loyalty above all else. But if there's even a little truth to the claims that his lawyer shared information in court, then everything he's been rapping about suddenly gets questioned. What makes this situation so interesting is that it exposes the huge gap between street code and legal defense strategy. From a courtroom perspective, what attorney Bradford Cohen did could actually be seen as smart. He used evidence to protect his client and help reduce his sentence. That's literally what a good lawyer is supposed to do. But in street culture, it's completely different. Sharing any kind of information that helps law enforcement, even if it's just part of a defense strategy, is seen as crossing the line. That's where the real conflict comes in. This puts rappers like Pooh Shiesty in a tough spot. On one side, you've got the legal system where you're supposed to use every tool available to protect yourself. On the other, you've got a street code that demands total silence, no matter what. It's like a lose-lose situation. Either you risk more time trying to stay solid, or you take a deal and risk losing your entire reputation.
Wack100 actually spoke on this whole street rules topic, saying straight up, a lot of those codes don't even make full sense, but once you choose that life, you're agreeing to live by them. He said these rules are rational sometimes, but that's what comes with the game. You can't pick and choose when to follow them. And one thing about Wack, he's been calling people out in the industry for years. He doesn't usually speak on something unless he feels he's got real proof or insider information to back it up. When he takes aim at somebody, he's coming with what he calls receipts. Wack said, "I'm only going off what I've seen. It's right there in black and white. I'm not making anything up." He claimed he's got access to certain documents and information that back up what he's been saying about Pooh Shiesty. Then he took it a step further. He actually challenged anyone who thought he was lying to take him to court. He said, "If what I'm saying is false, file a civil suit, because once that happens, they're going to open every door and everything you've been trying to keep quiet is coming out." That was a bold move. Wack basically put the ball in everyone else's court, saying, "If I'm wrong, prove it publicly." And he even pointed out that nobody has actually sued him over these claims yet, which he said speaks volumes. To him, the silence might mean there's at least some truth in what he's been saying. Meanwhile, DJ Academics found himself caught right in the middle of all this. He was the one hosting the stream when Bradford Cohen, Pooh Shiesty's lawyer, came on to defend his client. And during that live, the lawyer ended up saying things that actually supported a lot of what Wack had been claiming. Later on, when Wack100 called in to DJ Academics' live stream, you could actually hear the respect in Ac's tone. He knows Wack doesn't play around when it comes to street topics, and he's seen him expose people before, always with some type of paperwork or receipts to back it up. At one point, Academics even said, "You're making sense today, Wack," showing that even he understood where Wack was coming from about how the street code really works in these situations. What's wild about all this is how it shines a light on the current state of street politics and hip-hop. Wack's been saying for years that the whole idea of the streets ain't what it used to be. He told Academics, "Why you think so many people cooperating now? I've been telling you the streets are done." And that's the deeper part of this whole conversation. What supposedly happened with Pooh Shiesty might not just be about him. It could be part of a bigger pattern happening in the culture. The unwritten rules that used to define what being real meant are starting to fade away, but the image of sticking to those rules still matters more than ever. In the music world, perception is everything. Even if fewer people follow the old codes, fans still expect rappers to look and sound like they live by them. That image of loyalty, toughness, and staying silent in tough situations is still a big part of what gives artists credibility in hip-hop. And that's what makes this whole debate so complicated. Some people started calling Wack100 out, saying he was being selective, that he only applies these so-called street rules when it fits the person he's talking about. They accused him of picking sides depending on who he likes or who he's cool with. Wack100 didn't dodge the criticism, he addressed it head on. He said, "I'm not being selective, I'm calling it how I see it." He explained that before making any final judgment, he wanted to see the full set of statements from the alleged victims to really understand what went down. But then he admitted something that caught people's attention. He said, "Now if Pooh Shiesty was one of my rivals, would I be talking about it more and telling people to dig into it? Most definitely." That right there showed that personal relationships do influence how he approaches these situations, even if he tries to keep it fair. And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. It shows just how complicated modern street politics have become in the rap world. Back in the day, things used to be more cut and dry. You either testified or you didn't, simple as that. But now, with lawyers using more advanced defense tactics and court strategies, those lines have started to blur. So now people are asking, if Pooh's lawyer really told the court that the alleged victims had weapons in order to help lower his client's sentence, does that count as snitching by the old street code? Technically, by traditional standards, yes, but from a legal point of view, that's just seen as smart defense work, using every piece of evidence possible to protect your client. This whole thing highlights a huge clash between the old school rules of the streets and the realities of the legal system that rappers face today. It's a tough balancing act that a lot of young artists are struggling with. Do you follow the lawyer's plan and risk your image, or stay silent and risk more time? And to make it even chaotic, social media's changed everything. Instead of these discussions happening privately, now we've got lawyers jumping on live streams, rappers posting their own paperwork on Instagram, and fans debating street politics in real time for millions to see. As this whole situation kept unfolding online, it started to feel less like a legal debate and more like a full-blown cultural moment. Every major blog, YouTube channel, and podcast had something to say about it. Some were defending Pooh Shiesty, saying people were twisting the story, while others were siding with Wack100, claiming he was the only one bold enough to speak the truth out loud. Even other rappers started chiming in. Some threw shade subtly in their lyrics, while others made cryptic posts that fans instantly linked to the drama. The conversation wasn't just about one case anymore. It had turned into a bigger question about what real even means in today's rap game.
Wack100 kept doubling down, saying, "I'm not here to tear nobody down, I'm just telling the truth that everybody else is scared to say." He made it clear that, in his eyes, the problem isn't just about one artist, but about how the culture handles loyalty, respect, and reputation now that everything plays out in front of an audience. At the same time, Pooh's supporters were rallying behind him harder than ever. They said he proved his loyalty by standing tall in his case, posting his own paperwork and not letting the internet break his silence for too long. To them, Wack was just trying to use his name for attention, while Pooh was staying focused on his music and his comeback. But one thing was clear: this situation showed how quickly social media can turn a private legal move into a public controversy. In the old days, this type of drama would have stayed in courtrooms or quiet conversations behind closed doors. Now, everything gets dissected and debated by millions of fans who think they know the full story. And with Wack refusing to back down and Pooh refusing to engage directly, it became a battle of perception. Who the public believed mattered more than what the actual paperwork said. Just imagine the kind of pressure Pooh Shiesty must be feeling right now. He's trying to hold on to his reputation and keep his image solid while facing serious claims from someone as outspoken and connected as Wack100. He's probably getting hit with advice and pressure from all sides: his label, his family, and people in the streets, all telling him how to handle this situation the right way. When Pooh posted his federal case paperwork online, that move showed he was trying to take control of the story and prove his point. But if Wack is right, and this paperwork is from a different case, then Pooh might be stuck in a situation with no easy way out. He can't speak on the details too much without possibly making things worse legally. But staying silent also makes people talk even more. This entire situation is wild. You've got Pooh Shiesty fighting to protect his name, Wack100 calling him out and demanding proof, and a lawyer who might have revealed a little too much while defending his own client. Meanwhile, the streets and the internet are trying to figure out what's real and what's just talk. If there's any truth to what Wack's been saying, then Pooh's been walking a dangerous tightrope, keeping certain details quiet while continuing to build his career around being authentic to the life he raps about. That's a risky game in a culture where reputation means everything. But one thing about the truth, it always finds a way to surface, especially when you've got someone like Wack100 who doesn't let things fade away. He keeps applying pressure until the full story comes out. So here's the real question: can Pooh Shiesty push through all these allegations and keep his career stay? Or is this the moment that starts to chip away at the street reputation he's worked so hard to build? Only time's gonna tell, but one thing's certain: everybody's watching. And in this culture, people might forgive, but they definitely don't forget. What makes all this even more complicated is how much times have changed. We're in an era where the old street codes are fading, but the expectations for rappers to live by them are still the same. Pooh's stuck between two worlds right now: the legal world, where what his lawyer did might have been a smart move to protect him, and the street world, where that same move could be seen as breaking a sacred rule. It's a tough spot that shows just how blurry the line has become between real life and rap life. At the end of the day, this story isn't just about one rapper. It's about the entire culture and how it's changing right in front of us. What used to be simple is now being debated in front of millions online, with everyone picking sides and creating their own version of the truth. And that's the full breakdown of this wild situation between Pooh Shiesty and Wack100. If this video opened your eyes or gave you some new insight, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let me know. Do you think Wack100 is exposing the truth, or is he just stirring the pot for attention? Tap that subscribe button too, because we've got more crazy stories and deep dives coming your way.